Hello, it's Ruby, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make studying fun over Christmas. Actually enjoying the studying over Christmas. It's going to make you more motivated to study in the first place, and it's also going to mean that you can concentrate for longer periods of time and that you will be more productive during this time and that you won't feel as though you've wasted the whole of the Christmas season. So I know that I wouldn't have been able to study as long if I hadn't tried to do this myself, because you can't sit down and study for, I know that I've done 14 and 15 hours in the past. You can't sit down and study for that long if you're not going to enjoy it. I mean, I would not do it if I weren't going to enjoy it, because you wouldn't feel happy. You need to make sure that you're feeling happy when you're doing things. The first thing which I would recommend, this is an overarching point which does appeal to most of the things that I will be discussing with you, and that is to feel cozy and really try and embody that feeling of coziness, that hygge feeling, as they say in Denmark. Favorite word, I love the idea of hygge. Try and embody that idea of hygge when you're studying, because if you're going to do this, then you are going to continue to feel Christmassy and festive, and you are hopefully going to enjoy your study sessions. So how can you do this? So hygge is a feeling inside. It's not something which I can give you a formula for and it's just going to suddenly make you feel that. That's not how it works. There are things that will help you to feel this idea of hygge. So what you really want is, so you know when you watch a really beautiful Christmas film, or just a beautiful film in general, which is very uplifting, very heartwarming, and you feel that shiver of just, you know, it sends a shiver up your spine because it's so beautiful. I think that's hygge. And I feel that when I study sometimes, because you just make it so serene, so cozy, so perfect almost, that you feel that and you feel all cozy and you feel really happy and you want to study and you feel motivated. So the things that I would do to get that feeling. Number one, I love to light candles. This can be any sort of candle. I really love lighting scented candles. I've got this really lovely one which is vanilla and cassis talc scented candle. My friend Emily got me this for my birthday. Pumpkin candles are of course my favourites. Hagrid's pumpkin patch from the Page Candles. But ultimately my favourite candles to light are candlesticks, because they're really old-fashioned, and I think sometimes switching off from the modern world, I find this at least, switching off from the modern world really helps you to simplify everything, because our lives are so busy with social media, with deadlines, with just generally everything. The modern world is very busy and it's very hard to find a moment for yourself. And so I think switching back to a simpler time, a very simple life, can be really liberating and really mindfully important. And I find that candlesticks and old-fashioned things really help me to feel this feeling, and it just makes me think, actually what I'm doing at the moment, this is really important. This is so important that I do this. Not sure if that makes much sense, but it works for me and it might work for you. Leading on from that, I sometimes like to write with quills if I want to feel especially cozy and I'm trying to get into that mindset. So I'll just write with a feather quill, a dipping pen, and I'll write out my notes like that. Again, it's much simpler and it's just aesthetic. I mean, leading on from that, just having aesthetic stationery can be really helpful. And I know that seems quite silly, that might sound silly. And I know people say, oh, do you really need aesthetic stationery to feel productive? And you don't need it, but it definitely helps. So, I mean, things like this gorgeous little pen from Paper Chase. I've got these Stabilo pastel highlighters, and basically having stationery that you like to use and that when you've made your notes, you're proud of them. If you can add in that aesthetic element, which is very particular to you, it's going to change for every person. One thing which I recommend is positioning yourself so that you're looking out over a window. I have worked on desks where I face a wall, and I have that in university, but I do not find that I enjoy studying as much when I haven't got a landscape or just something outside to look out onto. And I know this might not always be a possibility, but for example in my university room I like to sit on, you shouldn't sit on your bed when you study, I know you shouldn't, but I sit on my bed and then there's a ledge here, so I basically sit on the bed and work on the ledge because there's a window there, and I feel so much more productive and more motivated and just happier when I'm studying. I'm not sure what it is, maybe it's just natural daylight, I really think it helps, and I think it just helps you to feel more awake and more engaged. Another thing which you might want to utilize is music. So finding some really beautiful classical music to listen to, which can just play in the background, but it makes everything feel much more serene. And if you play Christmas music, that's just additionally perfect. So I love the Sacred Christmas album by Paul Cardle, that's really good. And if you're interested in just general classical study music, I can maybe make a video on my favorite classical music to study to, because I do have so many favorites. I go through so much. At the moment I'm loving the new Romeo and Juliet soundtrack. That's really great to study to. But again, it just helps to fit with that idea of hygge and that feeling of coziness, because music in itself can inspire that and can inspire that feeling within us. So definitely by playing this we can help ourselves to feel that too, and to then feel that idea of festivity and happiness and enjoy our studying more. The last thing which I would recommend is doing tasks that you don't have to do over Christmas. And this might sound very contradictory, because I've just said try and maximize your time so that you have more time to go and see friends and try and do other traditionally Christmassy festive activities. But if you do tasks which you weren't set to do, you know, you do things just because you want to do them and you're really proactive and you show initiative, you just do something which you had no reason to do. So maybe entering an essay writing competition, or writing some creative writing just for your own benefit, or learning something completely new, not because anyone else told you to. It gives you a feeling of real self-satisfaction. It makes you feel so much more productive and motivated than if you just do tasks which you've been told to do, even if it's just one or two things over the whole of Christmas. If you do one of these, especially at the beginning, if you do this, it just makes your whole holiday feel more productive. And actually just trying to do one of these things every day can be really, really beneficial. It just makes you feel more like you should be motivated and more proud of what you're doing, as though you're doing it for yourself as opposed to somebody else. These things really help me to enjoy my study sessions and to feel happier and festive and Christmassy even when I'm studying. I think this is the best way to approach what is something necessary for all of us to do. I think it's so important that we actually try and enjoy it. And I think this new perspective on studying and this new way of looking at studying can be really helpful for all of us in helping us to maximize our potential and get the most out of our education and out of our time, and not feel as though we're ever wasting time, because that's the thing that that's the worst thing that we can do. So I hope that this video was helpful. I hope that you have a productive week and a productive Christmas.